You are born in the year of our Lord 1320, in a narrow street that smells of damp straw and sour wine, in a city that presses its stone teeth against the sky. Your first breath tastes of smoke. Your first sound is a distant tolling of a church bell, slow and heavy, as if it already knows something you do not. Your mother's hands are thin. Your father's cough never leaves the room. You are born into a house where hunger sits at the table before anyone else does. The walls sweat in winter. In summer, the air does not move. You sleep beside the hearth for warmth, though there is little wood to burn. Outside, the streets are crowded with merchants, beggars, priests, and the restless poor. You learn early that life is divided. There are those who walk upright, cloaked in fine cloth, and those who bow their heads and step aside. You belong to the second kind. When you are 5, you follow your father through the market. He bends low when a wealthy man passes. You do the same. You are small, but you already understand power has a scent. It smells of perfume and polished leather. It does not smell like you. You are 8 when the first rumors arrive from distant ports. Ships drifting in with silent crews. Bodies piled like broken timber. Whispers of a sickness that blackens the skin and swells the flesh. The priests say it is God's anger. The merchants say it is foreign air. The poor say nothing. They simply wait. You are 12 when the waiting ends. The bells do not stop ringing. Day after day, night after night, the sound seeps into your bones. Carts roll through the streets, carrying bodies wrapped in rough cloth. The smell changes. Rot replaces bread. Smoke replaces song. Your father coughs harder. Your mother's hands shake as she presses a cloth to his forehead. You stand in the corner and watch the swelling rise beneath his arms, dark and obscene. He does not last 3 days. Your mother lasts 2 more. You bury them in a trench outside the city walls. No priest speaks their names. The earth is thin. You do not cry. Your tears feel too small for what has happened. You are alone at 13 in a city that is learning how quickly life can be erased. It is then that the officials begin to search for men who are not yet sick. They need doctors, not the learned physicians in their tall houses, not the scholars who debate in Latin behind closed doors. They need bodies willing to walk into infected rooms, bodies willing to stand near the dying, bodies that can be replaced. You are young. You are poor. You have no one left to protest. They offer coin, not much, but more than you have ever seen. You accept. You tell yourself it is survival. You tell yourself you have nothing left to lose. You do not yet understand that there are worse things than dying. The training is brief, brutal in its simplicity. You are shown herbs said to cleanse the air. You are handed vinegar-soaked cloth. You are told to avoid direct touch. You are told that bad air carries death. You are told that your beaked mask, stuffed with fragrant flowers, will protect you. The mask is heavy when you first lift it. The leather smells sharp and unfamiliar. The eye holes are dark glass. When you put it on, the world narrows. Sound becomes muffled. Breath echoes inside your own skull. You look at your reflection in a basin of water. You do not see yourself. You see something unnatural. A bird, a creature between life and death. They hand you a long coat of wax fabric, gloves, a wide-brimmed hat to mark your profession. You are 14, and you already dress like a warning. Your first house call is at dusk. The sky bleeds red above the rooftops. A woman meets you at the door, her face streaked with tears. She does not look at you directly. She looks at the mask. "Please," she whispers. Inside, the air is thick, sweet and rotten at once. A child lies on a straw mattress, shivering. Black swellings press against thin skin. The child's eyes roll toward you, unfocused. You kneel. Your gloves tremble. You press herbs to the sores. You mutter reassurances you do not believe. The child dies before the hour is done. You step back into the street. The sky is darker now. You feel the weight of the mask more than before. People move away as you pass. They cross themselves. Some spit. You are no longer simply poor. You are necessary and feared. At 15, you no longer flinch at the smell. You no longer gag when you see flesh split open. You carry a stick to examine the sick from a distance. You record numbers for city officials who care more for counting than for comfort. Each day, You enter houses where entire families lie still. Each day you leave alone. You tell yourself the mask protects you. You tell yourself the vinegar works. You tell yourself you are different. But at night, when you remove the beak and wash your hands until the skin cracks, you wonder how long difference can last. The city shrinks around you. Shops close. Priests die. Even the wealthy begin to fall. And still, they send you into rooms. Because you are young. Because you are replaceable. Because someone must wear the mask. You are 16 when you realize that the mask is not armor. It is a mark. A sign that you walk between worlds. And neither will claim you fully again. You are 17 when you understand the hierarchy clearly. Above you stand the university physicians, wrapped in fine robes, speaking in Latin about humors and celestial alignments. They rarely enter the homes of the dying. They prescribe from a distance. They debate causes. They argue over theories while you count bodies. Below them stand the barber surgeons, quick with blades and cautery irons, eager to cut, eager to drain. They bleed patients until the floor turns slick. Sometimes the patients survive. Often they do not. And beneath them all, beneath even the grave diggers, stand you, the plague doctor, necessary, disposable. You are summoned by city officials, paid by frightened families, blamed by both. When you walk through the streets, children hide behind doors. Adults turn their faces away. The beat precedes you like a shadow. You hear whispers. Death, bird. Grave walker. You are 18 when the city council calls you into a chamber that smells of ink and fear. They sit at a long table, pale and sweating despite the cold. They speak of order, of maintaining calm, of preventing unrest. Your task expands. You are no longer only to treat the sick. You are to mark infected houses with symbols. You are to report families who conceal illness. You are to enforce isolation. You nod because there is coin on the table. Because refusal is not an option. The first door you mark belongs to a baker you once knew. He fed you stale bread when you were small. His wife coughs behind the shutters. He opens the door a crack when you knock. His eyes widen at the sight of you. Please, he says quietly, not the mark. You hesitate. Behind you, a city guard watches. You lift your brush. You paint the symbol on the wood. Thick, final. The baker does not curse you. That makes it worse. You are 19 when the plague surges again. This time it moves faster. The swellings rise like dark fruit beneath the skin. Fevers burn so hot that patients claw at their own throats. You lance buboes with trembling hands. You burn herbs until your eyes sting behind the glass lenses. The smell never leaves you now. Even when you remove the mask, it lingers in your hair, in your clothes, in the cracks of your skin. You dream of it. You are 20. The city is quieter than ever. Entire streets stand empty. Doors hang open. Rats move freely through abandoned kitchens. You walk alone more often. The guards have thinned. The priests are fewer. Even the grave diggers avoid certain districts. But you continue, because the council insists, because the coin continues, because you have built your life around survival. You begin to notice something else. The wealthy districts are cleaner. Their doors are sealed quickly. Their sick vanish quietly. You are not summoned there as often. In the poorer quarters, the illness festers longer. Families are left inside marked homes until the air grows unbearable. You report the numbers as required, but you understand, the system preserves what it values, and it does not value you. You are 21 when you are ordered to remain inside an infected house for 3 days to ensure no one escapes quarantine. The family inside consists of a mother and 2 sons. The father already lies still in the corner. The younger boy grips your coat. "Will we live?" he asks. Your voice sounds hollow inside the beak. "I do not know." You stay because the guards refuse. You sit in the corner while fever rises and falls. You change cloth soaked in vinegar. You listen to coughing that tears at the lungs. By the second night, the mother stops moving. By the third morning, the younger boy is silent. The older one stares at you with empty eyes. When you finally step back into the street, sunlight feels foreign. The air feels thin. You are 22 when rumors spread that plague doctors themselves carry the disease. that your visits bring death, that your mask traps poison and releases it elsewhere. Stones are thrown once. They strike your shoulder. You do not react. You are needed. You are despised. Both truths exist at once. The council tightens its grip. They demand more detailed records. Names, ages, causes. They speak of future generations who will study this catastrophe. You wonder if they will study you. You are 23 when your hands begin to ache in the mornings. A stiffness that lingers even after washing. Your back bends slightly from hours leaning over straw mattresses. You catch your reflection again in water. The mask hides you, but beneath it, your eyes look older. The plague does not slow. Neither do you, because there is no space to stop. Because the moment you falter, another desperate young man will step forward for coin. You are not unique. You are part of a system that feeds on fear. And you are beginning to understand that survival, inside it demands something more than courage. It demands a quiet surrender of who you once were. You are 24 when the fear inside you changes shape. It is no longer sharp. It no longer makes your hands tremble before opening a door. It settles deeper, like a stone placed carefully in your chest. Heavy, constant. The council summons you again. Their chamber smells stronger now of perfume and herbs, as if scent alone can keep death from crossing the threshold. They speak of unrest. In the poorer districts, families are resisting quarantine. Some claim the plague is a lie created to control them. Others accuse the doctors of poisoning wells. A mob dragged one of your kind from the street last week. He did not survive the night. The council looks at you as if measuring livestock. You will continue your duties. One of them says, order must be maintained. You bow your head. You are 25 when the mob finds you. It begins with shouting, then stones, then hands gripping your coat. They tear at the beak, trying to rip it from your face. You taste blood inside your mouth where a stone has split your lip. You bring death, someone screams. You try to speak, but the words drown in noise. A guard unit pushes through at last, striking bodies with batons. You are pulled free, your coat torn, your hat lost in the mud. The council later calls it an unfortunate incident. They advise you to avoid certain streets. They do not reduce your assignments. You return to work the next morning. Because what else is there? You are 26 when the betrayal comes from a quieter place. A senior physician, one who has rarely left a study, publishes a treatise on the plague. He writes of methods, of observations, of protective garments shaped like birds. He praises innovation and civic organization. He does not mention your name. He does not mention the nights you spent inside sealed homes. He does not mention the stones. The council applauds him. You are given another list of addresses. You are 27. The plague surges once more. Not as violently as before, but enough to reopen wounds that never healed. You feel the weight of your coat differently now. It presses on your shoulders. Your breath inside the beak feels hotter, more labored. One evening, as you lean over a patient, you notice a familiar ache beneath your arm. You freeze. Slowly, you press your gloved fingers against the spot. Tender, swollen. Your heart does not race. It slows. You finish the visit. You write the report. You walk home through streets that seem narrower than ever. Inside your small room, you remove the mask carefully, as you have done thousands of times. You wash your hands. You light a candle. Then you examine yourself. The swelling is undeniable. Darkness blooms beneath your skin. You are 27, and the system that used you has no protocol for this. You report your condition to the council the next morning. They sit farther from you than usual. There is murmured discussion. Finally, one official clears his throat. You will isolate, he says, for the safety of the city. You almost laugh. For years, you enforced isolation on others. Now the mark is for you. You return to your room. A guard paints a symbol on your door. The same thick, final stroke you once placed on the baker's house. You are alone. The fever arrives that night. It burns like a slow fire under your skin. Sweat soaks your bedding. Your thoughts blur and sharpen in cruel cycles. You think of your mother's thin hands, your father's cough, the child who asked if he would live. You realize you never answered truthfully. On the second day, the swelling grows. Pain radiates outward with every heartbeat. You attempt to prepare your own remedies. Vinegar cloth, herbs in bowls. The room smells the way the houses once did. You are too weak to stand by the third day. No one enters. Food is left outside your door. You drag yourself across the floor to retrieve it. Your limbs tremble. Your breath comes shallow and fast. You understand now what your patients saw when they looked at you. A figure unable to promise anything. You are 28 when the fever peaks. Time loses meaning. Light and dark blur together. The bells outside continue their tolling, but they seem distant, like echoes from another life. You whisper once, not a prayer, just your own name. It sounds unfamiliar. On the final night, the pain recedes slightly, not because you are healing, because your body no longer has strength to protest. Your breathing slows. The candle beside your bed gutters and dies. There is no dramatic moment, no final revelation, only a quiet room, and the faint sound of wheels in the street, carrying others toward the same end. You are 28 when you stop breathing. The guard returns the next morning. He does not linger. Your body is wrapped in rough cloth and taken to a trench outside the walls. No priest speaks your name. The mask remains in the corner of your room, waiting. Within weeks, another young man accepts the coin. He lifts the beak. He becomes the warning. Centuries pass. The plague fades. Cities rebuild. Scholars write of resilience, of medical advancement, of the courage of physicians who stood against the darkness. Illustrations appear in books. The beaked mask becomes a symbol. Strange, fascinating, almost theatrical. They debate its effectiveness. They discuss its design. They do not speak of the boy who wore it, because he had no other choice. They do not record the nights inside sealed houses. They do not mention the painted mark on his own door. Your name dissolves into dust. The system remains in the pages of history, admired for its structure, its attempt at order amid chaos. And somewhere in the margins, unmarked and unread, lies a life you spent beneath the beak. Centuries move forward without asking your permission. Stone streets become cobbled avenues, then paved roads. The houses where you once knocked are rebuilt, repainted, renamed. The trench beyond the old city walls is swallowed by new construction. Foundations cut through bone, without ceremony. You do not exist in the records. They keep carefully bound in leather. You are 30 in no official archive. You are never 27 with a swelling beneath your arm. You are never the boy who bowed in the market beside a coughing father. Instead, there are paragraphs. There are diagrams. There are neat illustrations of the beaked mask. Scholars gather in bright halls centuries later. They speak of the Black Death with measured voices. They chart mortality rates. They compare regions. They analyze trade routes and climate shifts. They praise the development of early public health measures. They mention quarantine. They mention protective garments. They call them innovative. They do not mention fear. They do not mention hunger. They do not mention the weight of the coat on narrow shoulders. Your world becomes a case study, a chapter heading, a lecture slide. In museums, replicas of your mask are displayed behind glass. Visitors lean close, fascinated by the long curved beak. Children point. Some laugh at its strange shape. It looks like a bird, they say. They do not smell the vinegar. They do not hear the coughing behind shuttered doors. They do not feel the heat of fever radiating from a child's skin. You are an artifact now, an aesthetic. The system that used you is praised for its order amid chaos. Historians write of city councils, attempting structure in a collapsing world. They call it governance under crisis. They note how plague doctors represented early attempts at medical specialization. They admire the symbolism. They do not trace the coin passed across a wooden table to a desperate boy. They do not calculate the cost of obedience. Your mask becomes popular again in distant centuries. It appears in paintings, in festivals, in costumes worn during celebrations that claim to honor the past. The beak becomes decorative. Feathers are added. Gold trim lines the edges. It no longer smells of rot. It smells of perfume. Somewhere in an academic paper, a scholar argues that the mask may not have been widely used in every region, that its design was sometimes exaggerated in art. They debate authenticity. You are not part of that debate. You are authentic. Your hands cracked from washing. Your back bent from leaning over straw pallets. Your voice muffled inside leather and glass. But authenticity leaves no monument when it belongs to the poor. The council chambers where you once stood become a heritage site. Tour guides speak of civic bravery during plague years. They gesture to portraits of officials who organized quarantines and maintained order. Their names are engraved. Yours was never written. In quiet archives, mortality records list numbers in faded ink. Thousands dead, tens of thousands. Percentages, trends. You are part of the thousands. Your age at death, if recorded at all, is a smudge. Researchers centuries later marvel at how society adapted, how systems evolved, how medicine slowly progressed from superstition toward science. They call it a turning point. They call it transformation. They do not call it suffering. Your life becomes a thin thread in a vast tapestry described in grand terms. Pandemic, resilience, reform. Large words, clean words. The room where you died does not exist anymore. The street has a different name. The symbol once painted on your door has long since been scrubbed away, but the pattern remains. When new diseases rise in later centuries, systems again look for bodies willing to stand near the sick. Young, replaceable, necessary. Protective garments change shape. Materials improve. Knowledge deepens. But fear smells the same. Isolation feels the same. History repeats with better language. The mask that defined you becomes a logo on book covers and documentaries. It is stylized in black and white. Dramatic lighting casts it as mysterious, almost heroic. The word doctor glows brighter than the word poor. No one asks why you accepted the role. They assume courage. They assume calling. They do not imagine desperation. In lecture halls, students scribble notes about mortality curves. They memorize dates. They underline phrases like societal restructuring. They close their notebooks and walk into clean air. You remain in the footnotes, if at all, a faceless figure in a long coat, a symbol of an era, not a son, not a child of hunger, not a man alone in a sealed room listening to his own breath grow thin. The bells that once tolled without ceasing are silent now. Their towers remain as architectural achievements. Tourists photograph them against blue skies. They do not hear what you heard. If your bone still lies somewhere beneath layers of stone and soil, no marker identifies them. No inscription tells passers-by that beneath their feet rests someone who walked willingly into death for coin and survival. The system endured. It adapted. It refined itself. It wrote its own history in ink that does not fade easily. You faded. And in the quiet space between recorded progress and forgotten lives, your story dissolves into the same silence that filled your final room. The mask survives. You do not.